fixable. So yeah, I will hand it back off to Daniela, I believe, or is who I think she's introducing the speaker. Sorry about that.
Thank you for the land acknowledgement and pronouns, Danny and Ayana. I think I will just pass it to Grace to start us off.
All right, thank you. Can y'all hear me? Awesome, thank you so much. Thanks to you all for uh, logging in and connecting today. So excited to be in a group with such amazing people. All of you look very excited. Happy to be here, enthusiastic and ready to learn. Well, I have a screen here I'd like to share. So I'm just gonna start my screen share and just get on started. And then I'll tell you a little bit about myself. One second, please. All right, so y'all can see my screen now? Oh, sorry, 1 second here. I started from the wrong. All right, sorry about that. So I hope y'all can see my screen. Can everybody see my screen? All right, thank you, thank you. So Grace Congo is my name. I'm here courtesy of my friend Annette. We've been friends, I want to say about 18 years. We knew each other back in like 2000, early 2000s. We were both going to school and working in California. We were young, we were single, we were, new in this country and learning and growing, trying to figure this thing out. So thank you, Annette, for your invitation. Um, it's always flattering when somebody thinks that, you have something to share and people actually, um, have something to pass on to other people. It's something I really value because I believe everybody has some value they could share with somebody. You have something that somebody is looking for, something that somebody else could benefit from. Sometimes we hesitate to share. We probably don't think it's as important. We don't think, maybe somebody may appreciate what we have. We don't think maybe it's valuable, you know. But yeah, everybody has something to share, and everybody has something that could give and pass on to um, somebody else. So when Annette invited me to share, I was really excited. I'm sure y'all know this is Black History Month. Um, and not only that, I think I was told about the Intercultural Center and read a little bit about, what you guys do and what you're doing there at Whatcom Community College. So I'm really excited to be sharing with you today. And I want to make this to be interactive. I don't want to be the only person speaking. If you have questions, you could definitely, interrupt me, raise your hand, whatever, and ask the question. Or you could also jot your questions and then we could discuss them in the end. So, so a little bit about how I have this set up today. I'll give a little bit about of an introduction about myself, a little bit about we're talking about women in STEM. That's a topic that I'll be discussing today. What challenges do women face in STEM? What opportunities are there? And then what's next? And then in the end, we'll have a Q&A. So just to give kind of like a high level overview of what I have in mind. So a little bit about myself. That's my family. um, I like to share that, start to, you know, share a little bit of myself, introduce myself. Married, have three wonderful boys that keep me busy, keep me on my toes, keep me entertained, and really and truly, it's and I'll share a little bit about this later. It's my why. Why do I do what I do? Why do I make the decisions that I make? It's because of these people. When I was growing up, my mom used to tell me, and I tell this to my kids sometimes because um, I don't know how many are parents, but sometimes you think you're, doing your parent a favor, or you need to be pushed or dragged to do this. But my mom used to tell me, whatever decisions that you make today are not for me, but they're for your family, your husband, your kids, your grandchildren. Those are the people that are really gonna benefit from the choices and the decisions that you make. And really and truly, um, these are the first people that benefit from who I am, the change maker or the influencer that I am in my community. um, I live in Dallas, Texas. um, I've been here about 10 years. Before that, I was um, working in California. I did my undergraduate in California, in electrical engineering. I got a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering from Cal Poly Pomona, California State Polytechnic Pomona. Um, and then when I was after I graduated, I was young, I was naive, I was trying to figure this thing out. Okay, now I got a degree, and I think that's what everybody looks forward to, because I believe most of you are students. Um, you just want to graduate, but there's that's actually the beginning. That's where your career really starts. So I graduated. My undergrad was quite challenging, I must say. um, yes, an engineering degree is tough. I probably wouldn't do it today if you paid me, but it was probably the best thing to happen to me because helped me to um, to become that analytical thinker, be and not just those skills that I learned in college. I apply them in every area of my life today, in my career, in my personal life, in my social life. um, College is really a training ground for life. How you relate with people, how it's a big part of it is what you're learning, the coursework that you're doing, but there's way more to that than what you think. I have a friend who's she's actually in a STEM field right now, but she actually was in the Navy for a while, and then when she got out, she didn't know what to do next, but she enjoyed photography. So she got a degree in photography. um, and actually was a photographer for a while. And then she decided to get into IT, and everybody was asking us, so what's the connection between IT and photography? And her explanation was that, all the skills that I learned, the tools that I gained in college are really applicable, and I can apply them in IT or in any other field. You learn problem solving, you learn critical thinking, you learn how to handle people. Obviously it works on your in your emotional IQ, EQ. All those things, they all kind of rub together and work together in the end. So um, see the big picture, not just, okay, how is this math going to help me, how is this art going to help me, how is this music going to help me. There's way more to that. So just to dig a little deeper, what is STEM? STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And it's defined, many ways, many fields, as per the U.S. government link there. But really, field that covers science, technology, uh, engineering. There's so many different kinds of engineering, and math. There's a lot of fields. So it's such a wide field. It's such a field that it encompasses so many areas, but for some reason, and I was really trying to, I've never really understood, and I was also trying to do some research preparing for this to really understand why we as women shy away from STEM fields. Um, because there's so many opportunities, there is pretty good pay rate or pay scale in the STEM fields. Um, but it's a combination of factors that I realized. But generally, statistics show that women tend to stay away from STEM fields, and this is for various reasons. But my challenge to you today is, for whatever reason, and everybody has their own uh, I guess ideas, or hesitations to STEM, maybe we could address that and unpack that today. So that's my prayer. But really and truly, uh, all things being equal, it is nothing to be scared about, nothing to be hesitant to get into. Um, I don't know. I wish I had a survey to kind of have a feel of what fields, you know, all of you are exploring right now, or what you really think. But we could have that discussion. Um, like I said, statistics are very, very, what's the word? STEM statistics are very low, especially for women. And this is what I mean. Um, the share of STEM degrees is even smaller for women, and especially so women of color in the United States. In 2017, 2018, women of color earned a small percentage of bachelor's degrees across all STEM fields. So, for example, for Asian women, the statistic was 5.3%. Black women was even lower, it's 2.9%. Latinas was 4.3. American Indian, Alaska Native women was 0.1%. And as you can see, this is a very, very small percentage compared to the overall uh, degrees awarded. So, and this is just a small statistic of women in STEM and the things and the fields of the things that women study in undergrad. So as you can see, it's a pattern. It's historically our numbers have been very low for various reasons that we'll touch on later. But it's definitely something that women consciously or unconsciously stay away from. Um, does that mean it's the opportunities are not there? I No, I don't think so. There's so many opportunities, um, but women kind of tend to be. And when I talk, like I said at the beginning, STEM could be any science field, any technology field, engineering, math. So we're talking IT. We're talking any kind of engineering, biological sciences, physical sciences. Um, so there's so many sciences that you could talk about. Technology could be IT, could be anything technical, engineering. That's my field, the electrical, mechanical, aerospace, math, actuarial, statistics, so many of those fields. Moving on. So um, the also statistics record that women are less likely to pursue higher paying STEM fields such as engineering or computer science. Um, and among enrolled post-secondary students in 2017, 2018, women represent, oh, sorry, there's a slide there, a box there that missed, but women represent a very small percentage. So now the disadvantage is that not only is there job security in STEM fields, but they also have a higher pay scale uh, in comparable to the arts or other fields. Um, so when we shy away from STEM, we kind of settle for other fields that are probably more comfortable to pursue in thinking, but they're lower paying fields. Also, lately there's been a lot of statistics about um, technology and how technology is evolving and changing. And I was trying to get a graphic, but there's research out there about discussing how a lot of fields are going to be gone. They're going to be obsolete in the next 10, 15, 20 years, because these fields are, either going to be replaced by machines. There's a lot of technology out there in AI, which is artificial intelligence. There's a lot of uh, advancements in machine learning, which is ML. But all these advancements are great, but the disadvantage is that come 10, 15, 20 years from now, based on how fast or how technology evolves, a lot of the fields that we know as we know them today are going to disappear. They're going to be gone. They're going to be replaced by the machines. They're going to be replaced by other uh, technical fields. So as you think about these things, think about that, because you're thinking longevity. How long is this going to be? What is the how secure is your career? How secure is your you're thinking about the future of your career, right? You're thinking about how stable it is, and how things are evolving. So keep that in mind as you go to school, as you pursue, as you research. Keep that in mind, because a lot of careers as it were 20, 30 years ago are not there anymore today, and that's going to continue to happen, and it's actually at a higher rate considering how fast technology is evolving. All right, moving on. So also in the workplace, according to Authors of Women in the Workplace 2020, for every 100 women promoted to manager, only 85 women were promoted. And this gap was even larger for some women. Um, look at Black women or Latinas, 58 Black women and 71 Latinas were promoted. So, there's a lot of talk, a lot of movement about, gender equality. A lot of companies, corporates are really pushing on what they're calling D&I, diversity and inclusion, trying um, to level the playing field, to um, give equal opportunities to men and women, equal promotions, equal, opportunities even for higher levels, in management, in, C-level and the executive levels, to make sure that more women are involved. And more women participate. So a lot of companies, like the company that I work for, JPMC, has a big push on diversity and inclusion, and that is something that is a big benefit, and definitely something to take advantage of, because these companies are actually conscious of the fact that you know, things are not balanced. Their workforce is not balanced, and they really have. There's several initiatives and moves to to balance that. So um, from enrollment, or rather recruitment, how these companies do the recruitment, how these companies do the promotions, how these companies do um, the opportunities that they're giving, even like the benefits, there are factors like, childbirth that make women, you know, uh, stay away from the corporate workforce, because either you have to take time off for your family or for uh, other reasons, and it's not as smooth. So a lot of companies are making a big push, and I definitely want to encourage you to take advantage of that. And how do you learn about this? A lot of information is online. You could research the companies, you could talk to recruiters, attend, like right now because of COVID, a lot of things are online. There's a lot of meetups, a lot of uh, sessions, conferences and things like that on LinkedIn, on other networks, but that you can actually leverage to learn more about the company. And like I said, I work for JPMC, but I know a lot of other companies that are making a big, big push towards that. So definitely a great time to take advantage of this. Definitely a great time to participate in this, and definitely a great time to get involved. Now, does that mean you get involved while you're when you graduate? You could get involved now. You could get involved. A lot of these companies also have college initiatives, where they go to colleges, talking to whether it be the career center, like you have the intercultural center, many other on-campus organizations, clubs, sororities, and things like that, really trying to make a big push, because what they're doing is they're trying to get in your face before you graduate, because when you graduate, it's already too late. You probably made up your mind, you know, who you want to work for. You probably have an idea of, what kind of general direction you want to go into. So they're trying to catch you early. They're trying to kind of advertise themselves, for you to make them consider them early. So and again, I'll touch on this a little later, but the companies are putting themselves out there. But you as a student, you also have the responsibility to reach out, to research, to connect with these companies. So there's a lot of information out there. In any area, any field, there's money involved. The companies, whether be it in internships, sponsorships, what do you call them? Like the work study programs, things like that, fellowships. There's a lot of money that corporates are putting out there for this. So definitely take advantage of that. All right. So the challenges start very early, uh, in education from the elementary level. Statistics show that female students' achievements in math and science is on par in the early years. Female students participated at a higher level in math and science courses, or at similar rates as their male peers, except for computer science and engineering. That's according to the NSF, National Science and Engineering Indicators 2018. So in the early years, and that's what I was talking about. What are some of the reasons that make us as women shy away from these STEM careers? So it's not like we have a lower IQ level, or we're disadvantaged compared to men. No, we're not. We're smart. We're hardworking. We're go-getters. I mean, we have what it takes in the beginning. But the external factors, external influences that we'll touch on a little later, come in later in life. It may be later in the uh, high school years, or in college, whereby people tell you. I remember when I was in college, people would ask me, so what are you studying? And I tell them I'm doing engineering. Like, oh my God, that would be like, how do you do that? So there's a stigma. There's a lot of, hesitation, or I don't know if hesitation is a word, or towards any STEM careers, because we perceive them as tougher or harder, or for whatever reason, right? Um, Male students were more likely than female students to take engineering, um, 21% versus 8%, right? And enroll in AP Computer Science, 77 versus 23. However, there were no significant differences in the percentage of male and female students um, that take other computer science classes. So when it comes to engineering, when it comes to computer sciences, when it comes to I think women, the only statistic, I have it later in another slide, when it comes to like medical sciences, there's more women that are in those fields. What other fields that like engineering or computer sciences, um, women have come out a lower percentage as compared to men. Now, this actually starts in high school. I'm sure most of you know what AP classes are. Um, there's a lot of buzz about college prep classes, AP classes, and things like that. So when these classes kind of help you to prepare you for college, what you're going to be studying, and really help you to get ahead and prepare for college. So when it comes to high school AP level classes, now when you start getting ahead in high school, it comes to college, it looks like our male peers are already further ahead in the game than our female peers, than us females. So they come out higher, they come out, they probably have an advantage based on their starting point. So for example, if a boy did um, AP math or AP computer science, now you realize that you're already getting college credit, right? When I go to college and I start from college algebra, or just the basic college math science courses, well, our male peers are studying at like sophomore or junior level classes. So that they already have an advantage, kind of like a lead um, in that regard. Um, in higher education, the rates of science and engineering courses for girls or women shift at the undergraduate level, and the gender disparities begin to emerge, especially for minority women. So as our levels, as you go higher in higher education, then for girls, women shift and become lower. So in since the 1990s, women have earned about 50%, 57% of all bachelor's degree and half of all science and engineering bachelor's degrees. However, women participating in science and engineering and undergraduate level significantly differs by specific field of study. So in 2015, women received over half of bachelor's degrees awarded by the biological sciences. They received far fewer in computer sciences, engineering, physical sciences, and math. So when it comes to biological sciences, we're more bold, so to speak. But that's probably the only area where we're really bold. So in that area, we have a higher percentage compared to computer sciences, engineering, physical sciences, or math. And this is what I was saying, for many reasons, but it's not like we have a low IQ. It's not like we don't have the opportunity, but it's different factors that I'll touch on later that kind of affect, where we land. In 2016, 12.6% of bachelor's degrees in science and engineering, 7.8 master's degrees in science and engineering, and 5% in science and engineering were awarded to minority women. So as you can see, the higher we go, the lower our percentage. So 12.6 for bachelor's, 7% for master's, and 5% for doctorate degrees. So as you go higher, the percentages are getting lower. For whatever reason, for many reasons, but you can see how already getting into the workforce, women already at much lower percentage. In 2016, women from underrepresented minority groups earned more than half of the science and engineering degrees awarded in their respective racial and ethnic groups at all degree levels, bachelor's, master's, and doctorate. Underrepresented minority women have increasing and strong shares of bachelor's degrees in psychology, social sciences, and biological sciences. Representation in these fields by underrepresented minority women is increasing and is near or above their representation in the labor force. So that's a little bit about what I was discussing earlier. So in the workforce also, so I discussed from K to 12, and then in higher education, and now in the workforce. Women remain underrepresented in the science and engineering workforce, although to a lesser degrees than in the past, with the greater disparities occurring in engineering, computer science, and physical sciences. So the trend that we started seeing in higher education continues in the workforce. Women make up half of the total US college educated workforce, but only 28% of science and engineering workforce. So if we're making 50% of the workforce, or the college educated workforce, but when it comes to science and engineering, we're only 28%. I mean, you realize that's less than a third, right? So female scientists and engineers are concentrated in different occupations. None are men, higher shares of women in social sciences, biological, agriculture, environmental, and lower in engineering, computer and mathematical sciences. So again, according to research by the NSF. So much for research. So what are the challenges that women face, right? We've talked about how the numbers are really low. So there are many challenges. Like number one is like gender bias, right? There's an unconscious, either conscious or subconscious bias that limits us in those STEM fields, right? Um, Generally, most people associate math fields with male and humanities and arts with female, right? If you ask most people, they'll say, and that the numbers prove that, because more males are in the sciences, and then humanities and arts are more females. Um, People also hold negative opinions of women in masculine positions like scientists and engineers. And that's what I was talking about. Like, people ask you, oh, so what do you do? And you tell me I'm an engineer, and they're like, oh my God, you know? And it's true, because like in college, most of my classes were predominantly male, you know? So there is that gender bias for sure. Financial challenges, of course, is high. The higher you go, not just in undergrad, in graduate level coursework, it costs more. The coursework is more expensive. The things like labs and things like that you actually have to do. Uh, Internships and things like that may cost you more, right? Not to mention that these courses take longer than the humanities or the arts. Most humanities courses are just typically 4 years for undergrad. For STEM courses, they tend to be a little heavier and a little longer, right? So definitely a bigger challenge. But again, it's really a small investment compared to the benefit that you get out of it, because I remember one time a friend told me, she really want to go into medical school, but she said, why would I spend 8 years in medical school? Not to realize that a lot of us spend 8 years, and you probably can account for what you did for the past 8 years. So it's really not a waste, so to speak. It's an investment. It's an investment on your future. It's an investment on your life. It's an investment on your generations, right? um Part of it is lack of information, and that's why I'm so excited for all of you logged in today, because you want to learn, you want to grow. Lack of information on courses. What is all these what are these courses about? When you hear engineering, when you hear computer science, what is it that comes to your mind? Do you really know what it is? Do you know what it takes? Do you know what you're probably good at it, but you've never really explored that field. So lack of information is also another factor that really limits us, right? um, I mean, now we have the internet. Everybody should be the information really should be at our fingertips, but we really have to be proactive to go uh, find out that information, dig it out, and work with it, and really figure out how to benefit from that. uh Community influences, and that's what I was talking about. Like, be it in your your family, your friends are like, oh no, don't do that math course, that's too hard, that's no, that you're gonna flunk out of that class, right? So there's definitely external influences in that. Opportunities. So there are plenty of opportunities, but what do we need to do, right? So first thing I really suggest is discover your why. And that's what I was like telling you about my family. Like, what is the motivation for what you're doing? What is the motivation for going down this path, right? Do you want to make, obviously everybody wants the best life, but you realize that there are more opportunities, security and things like that in the STEM fields. Not to say that humanities are bad or anything, but analyze yourself. Like, when I was choosing a major, I was trying to, there are a lot of ways you could go about it, but I think one very good way, or very foundational way, is to find out, what are your strengths? What are you good at? Are you analytical? Do you like problem solving? Are you creative? Are you, there's a lot of things that you could do, right? Chart out your path, right? Analyze your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Like I said, what challenges that? What threats are you facing? So all these things will help you to not just make a rush decision, not make a ignorant decision, but to make a very calculated decision, right? Another thing is to network, network, network. I cannot overemphasize this point. From the moment you trying to figure out your career or your field or your major, to after you graduate, networking never stops, right? Network with your peers, network with your professors, network with your organizations, and I have listed some of these here. Find like-minded people, join campus or professional organizations, right? There's also more here, like attend national regional conferences in whatever field you're in. The professional organizations, like in engineering, I know about, there's National Society of Black Engineers. There's IEEE, which is Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. There's so many organizations in whatever field you're in, be it nursing organization, be it healthcare, be it, there's so many organizations, actuarial scientists, whatever field that you're in, there are networking opportunities, right? Uh, Leverage social media, LinkedIn, Twitter. I mean, I cannot overemphasize the power of social media. The profile that you put out there is your resume, is your online tool that you can use. Reach out to people. People are and I'm talking like professional sites like LinkedIn, right? Reach out to recruiters, reach out to managers at certain companies, right? And most of the time you realize that these people are very receptive and very open. Connect with them and just tell them, hey, I want to have, a 20-minute info session, and they're more than likely spare some time to speak with you. Also networking on campus, right? I talked earlier about your career center, your intercultural center, and other on-campus professional organizations, right? Those are the organizations that will really be instrumental in your launching of your career. Um, Internships, there's lots of internships. Again, you don't have to be a senior to get an internship. There's so many, again, if you network with your career center, there are companies that come on site. Like when I was in college, there are companies that would come on site and looking to recruit, for the summer. The spring is a good time that companies are looking for summer interns, right? So the internships out there that you would not believe, like in Dallas, there's a huge internship offered by City of Dallas, where they recruit over 500 interns for the summer, right? So check with your city, check with your local government, and see what kind of internships, what kind of organizations, what kind of opportunities do they have. I talked a little bit about professional organizations, and since I'm in engineering, these are some of the organizations that I've been part of in the past: National Society of Black Engineers, Women in Technology, Society of Women Engineers. All these are organizations that will help you and guide you, push you along, um, to the end. Um, Especially when you're in college, I really, really challenge you to network while you're in college. Network with those on campus. So my first job, I actually got it on campus, right? Because these companies are coming out there to look specifically for students, right? To fill in their summer jobs. When you wait until you graduate and you're out in the workforce, you're competing with all the rest of us, right? You're competing with the experienced workforce. But when you're networking on campus, those companies are specifically looking for students. So you have a big advantage there, right? Because this they're not looking for 5 years, 10 years experience, right? They're looking for students, and they know you're in college. You probably don't have direct experience in your field, but that they're looking to bring you on to teach you, coach you, and train you in whatever field it is that you're in. And I think that's it for me. I was hoping to save the last 10 minutes for Q&A. Um, I hope that is helpful, and I hope you know somebody has a question. I've been talking for a while, so anybody has a question, you could.
Hi, Grace. Thank you for sharing with us. I'm just curious to finding out from you what got you interested in engineering.
Great question. Um, so like I said earlier, you kind of have to do a personal analysis. And there are many tools out there. They call them uh, strength finders or things like that. There's so many uh, tests out there you could do. And also just personal analysis. You can find out what are you good at. Like personally, I really enjoyed math. I enjoyed the physical sciences. I didn't enjoy the biological sciences. I'm not good at biology or anatomy or anything like that. I didn't do well in those courses. Um, so I kind of started narrowing it down to what I was good at, what I enjoyed doing. I did some research, talked to 2 or 3 friends that I knew that were in the engineering field, um, and really tried to get a grip on it. Um, Also, most of you guys, all of you guys are in community college. I think that's a really, really good start, because you get to sample, these courses, right? In your, what do they call them now? the general classes that everybody takes, right? Your math, your sciences, your arts, your history, your whatever, and find out what you really enjoy doing, what you're good at. I mean, this is gonna be your career. This is gonna be your life, right? So you kind of narrow it down. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of you know uh, digging and analyzing and questioning and researching and talking to people and really kind of narrow it down. Now, does that mean you have to, you're kind of stuck in one area? So a little bit about my career. Like when I started as an electrical engineer. I was working more on hardware, right? But you want to pick a career that you have more a wider pool of opportunities. So as an engineer, there's so many fields that you could go into. It's kind of like going into healthcare, right? You can become a nurse, you can become a doctor, you can become a therapist, you can become a radiologist. The options are endless. But when you narrow it down, um, you kind of have to want leave some flexibility, right? Like when I started, I worked in hardware. Now I'm working in software, right? I also worked in management. I've been a project manager in the engineering world. So you kind of sample a little bit at a time. When I worked in hardware, I realized I enjoyed it, but I wasn't not so much, but I enjoyed the project side of it, which is managing the engineering projects. So I really enjoyed that. And then I did that for a while and I'm like, okay, let me try software now. Now, the skills that I learned in my undergrad really helped me I leverage that to get into my current job now. And actually, and who knows how long I'm going to do this before I switch to my next opportunity. So it's good to test and like it. You may like it, you may not like it, but at least you explore, right? So I don't think there's a it's a hit and miss. I think it's just kind of like a ladder, so you kind of take it from one level to the next. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Hmm.
Hey, Grace. Thank you so much for today. One question I have for you: do you think that how you were taught certain specific classes has something to do with why you chose those fields as well? On top of knowing that you like them, that maybe there was a particular teacher or just how you were instructed in those classes really had something to do with how you pursued them?
Oh, definitely. I think the teachers that your teachers definitely have a big influence on them. And that's why I tell people don't just shut off. For example, like you'll say, oh, I don't like math. And only because you had a teacher that, probably they were not bad, but probably their teaching style did not align with you, right? So you kind of write yourself off, or write off the professor, write off the. So it's always good to try things from a different angle, right? Like when I was in college, I remember my first engineering class. Actually, my first test in my first engineering class. Oh my God, I can still see that professor. She was red because she was so upset because the whole class had flunked, right? And she gave us such a lecture of, oh my God, you guys are freshmen. You have to really consider this is the engineering. You all need to reconsider and maybe choose another major and blah, blah, blah. And she went on and on. And I'm like, okay. But I guess it was just her teaching style, right? But I didn't write myself off because of that one test or that. So what I did is I found other ways that really worked for me. Like, for example, I really enjoyed working in groups, right? Like the teacher could teach and I don't get it, but my friend could explain it to me and I get it. So don't be locked into just one style of learning. Find what works for you and run with that.
Thank you.
Great question. I think somebody else had to raise their hand. I don't know who that was.
That was me, Rachel.
Okay.
I was thinking about like how college life can help students make that choice to go to this line of work. And if you don't have networking skills, or you start college with a fear of math, not especially like you mentioned, as a woman of color or any kind of marginalization, what is your suggestions for like colleges and how we can get students to be more curious and support them in getting into this line of studies?
I think it's a combination. I don't think there's a really perfect answer for that. First of all, the student themselves have to be curious. They have to want to do it, right? And if somebody is curious, somebody comes to me and asks me, "Oh, I'm really struggling in this math. I want to get it, but I don't get it." Um, there's a lot of resources, either on campus or online. Like at my school, they had actually, they called it math, um, like a math center or math. It's been years. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was a center where students could go for help in coaching in math, or in their homework or whatever they were struggling with, right? um there's a lot of online resources, like I talked about. Nowadays, when in the early 2000s, I mean, social media was not as big as it is now, right? So now we have a lot of online, I mean, I'm talking like Google, I'm talking YouTube, I'm talking every resource that you can find online to help you succeed in that area. Um, Professional organizations, like I talked about, right? Like I remember one time we went for a conference. It was a engineering conference, right? And there was like, I'm talking like maybe like 3,000 students there, and they're all like from different schools, and that's motivating. And had so many workshops that dealt with different things. So you're able to network with other students. You're able to network with other organizations. You're able. So for the willing person, there's a lot of resource out there. There's so many resources out there that you can tap into. Um, but again, you have to be willing. You have to be you have to be wanting to go that way. There's a lot of fields that really have very low exposure. So I think also exposing the students to like the different fields and options that there are out there, right? Because you don't know that you don't know, right? So that exposure is really, really important. So research, 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 networking, networking, networking. I think that's my short answer.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Grace, so much for sharing such valuable information with us. If anyone has any
Absolutely.
questions, feel free to ask for the last few minutes that we have. Um,